Welcome back once again. Let's finish this off with the top 13 best films of 2011. And then we can get back to the normal ways of things.
Number 13, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. What do you do when you take a Tom Cruise franchise I don't have a deep connection with? Well, you get the guy who directed The Iron Giant and The Incredibles to make me care, of course. While this film does go into the usual tropes with previous Mission Impossible films, Brad Bird's direction adds a very cartoony flair that makes it quite humorous throughout, making it feel the more alive the whole way through. And for his first live-action feature, that's pretty damn impressive. From the introduction to the tower scene to the finale, it has you at the edge of your seat as you witness the whole endeavor. It's pretty damn good, and I enjoyed it. Number 12, Winnie the Pooh. With the amount of CGI plaguing today's theaters, it's nice to see Disney put out a traditional animated movie. And thankfully, Winnie the Pooh is not done by Disney Toon Studios, but their main animation studio, so there was actual heart to it. With this being the shortest flick on the list, clocking in at barely over an hour, it does what it needs to do and never overstays its welcome. Plus, they did the right thing with having traditional voice actors like Jim Cummings and Tom Kenny take in the spotlight, especially considering Cummings has been in charge of the roles of Pooh and Tigger since the 90s. Number 11, Fright Night. The original Fright Night has a strong cult following behind it, so doing a remake would be tough to do, but thanks to director Greg Gillespie, this remake kicks so much ass. I love the idea of setting the film in Las Vegas, adding both to the film's sense of humor and intrigue within the story, and the performances by Anton Yelchin, Colin Farrell, Toni Collette, Imogen Poots, Dave Franco, and David Tennant are all entertaining. Hell, even Chris Sarandon gets a cameo in the film, and that's pretty damn cool. Aside from the CGI being a little bit distracting, this is one of the few remakes that I've seen that actually rivals up there with the original, and I'm happy to own the film on Blu-ray. Number 10, Cowboys and Aliens. While this film may have been a bomb with critics and audiences, I came out loving the hell out of this movie. It gave me exactly everything that I wanted to get from Jonah Hex, but didn't, and it was a pretty damn good fun time. I really admire Jon Favreau's ambition with this film, especially with the usage of practical effects for both the spaceships and aliens themselves when they were on close-ups. Plus, with powerhouse actors like Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford leading the way, it really has a good sense of charm to it. Number 9, Rango. Gore Verbinski and Johnny Depp reunite to do another movie, only this time in animated form. This was a much more adult film than I was expecting, as there's imagery and dialogue that would have easily passed for a PG-13, yet somehow a PG rating was given. It's like we're in the 80s. I really grew to love the character of Rango, even if he was a bumbling idiot and the way he was written wasn't exactly perfect, but Johnny Depp's vocal performance is probably the best that I've heard from all year, and that's saying a lot. I wasn't expecting something okay, but coming out, I got to see a high-profile kids western, and I couldn't be happier. We need more animated films that are as ambitious as this. Number 8, The Muppets. As the first real Muppet film since the 1999 film Muppets from Space, James Bobbitt and Jason Segel crafted a true love letter to what made the Muppets so likable in their heyday. It is a silly movie, but it's one of those silly movies that stays in tone with both theatrics and reality. The characters are all likable, the songs are great, the jokes always hit bullseyes, and it doesn't shy away from the emotional side of things. It's definitely the best Muppet movie that I've seen since Muppets Takes Manhattan, so go and give it a watch. Number 7, Unknown. You'd expect a film from the director of the House of Wax remake to turn out like garbage. However, Wame Colette Serra proved me wrong and delivered one of the most intriguing action thrillers that you'll watch. It's a film that always keeps you on your toes either by the mystery of who Martin Harris really is, or by him kicking ass all night. Liam Neeson proves once again that he is a badass despite age, and he really does a solid job in this one, and the supporting cast consisting of Diane Kruger, Aidan Quinn, Bruno Ganz, and January Jones are equally as investing. Number 6, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. David Fincher's adaptation of the Millennium series was a surprisingly suspenseful masterpiece that I would honestly say surpasses the original Swedish miniseries. The performances by Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara are fantastic, the dialogue they share is always worth a listen, and not once does it drop any sense of the brutality that it holds. The atmosphere is cold and dark, which kinda fits for a movie you can watch on a cold and rainy day, which is what I did when I first saw the film in theaters with my dad. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo has emerged as one of the best remakes to be delivered, and I'm looking forward to see what they do next with this American rendition. Number 5, Anonymous. Easily the most underrated film of 2011, and probably one of my favorite films about William Shakespeare. Roland Emmerich's historical drama about the Oxfordian theory of Shakespeare authorship is deeply intriguing, and one of the most fascinating movies that you'll watch. Performances by Rhys Ifans, Sebastian Armistead, David Thewlis, Vanessa Redgrave, and Rafe Spall are all entertaining, written damn nicely, and their chemistry between each other is done very nicely. Sure, many people may not believe the theory itself, but either way, I still think it's a solid film regardless and is definitely worth the viewing. Number 4, The Help. I'm not usually one to actively go see Oscar-darling films, but this film actually broadened my horizon quite a bit. Tate Taylor's adaptation of Catherine Stockett's novel about the maids of Jackson, Mississippi in the early 60s succeeds at having both an aspiring and emotional connection with me, especially as a writer. Each of the characters are fully developed, the dialogue is very witty, and I love how each scene offers some pretty good surprises that took me off guard. Hell, that pie scene had me dying of laughter because I was not expecting a film like this to take a drastic turn like that. If you haven't gotten around to it, this is definitely one that you will have to look at. And while you're at it, take a look at the book that it's based on. It's actually a pretty good read. Number 3, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. After over a decade, the story of the boy who lived comes to an epic conclusion that we've all been waiting for. David Yates' handling of the series since Order of the Phoenix has had its tone handled incredibly well, from the characters to the action scenes to the closed ends left off from previous endeavors. While story elements weren't completely accurate, the end result is still a very satisfying movie that will go down along with other epic fantasy finales. It's time to grow up, but it was fun while it lasted. Number 2, Super 8. J.J. Abrams takes a break from working on the Star Trek films and decides to give us a film that pays tribute to the Spielberg films of the 80s, such as E.T. and The Goonies. Not only that, but it's a film that relates to kids who grew up making home movies with their friends, and you grow to like each of them, becoming engrossed in their dealings with both the alien and their families, who, they themselves, are equally as interesting to watch. While being the first film that I ever bought on Blu-ray, it definitely stands as one of the most enjoyable coming-of-age stories that I've seen all year. However, I can't say it's the best film to satisfy the filmmaker in me. That honor goes to number 1, Hugo. Martin Scorsese's film about a boy rediscovering the pioneer of filmmaking, George Méliès, is both visually stunning, emotionally impactful, insightful with history, and directed to such perfection that it makes me jealous of how perfect it is. From the young performances from Asa Butterfield to Chloe Moretz, to veterans like Ben Kingsley and Christopher Lee, they're all fantastic, and their scene work is deeply gratifying every time you see them. Films about filmmaking always seem to be the most investing, and I would dare even say that this one is the best without a doubt. Hugo really is my favorite film of 2011, and no other film could match any kind of level of achievement that it's gotten.
Well, now that I got that done, expect my best and worst of 2012 to come, not for quite some time. What am I doing?